Well, Stuart, the Championship season is out of the way at last. I suppose this is the stage that you've been really looking forward to, is it?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of new season started yesterday, straight after the game, and I think it's exciting that the new season is upon us. Last season's gone. I think it's time to sort of move on, and enough's been said about sort of last season, and we can move forward. But from my side of things, I really couldn't wait for sort of yesterday to finish and get out of the way, and we can start doing our work and hopefully moving the club forward.
There are still a lot of questions about what's going to happen at Norwich City over the summer. Alan Irvine talked about some of them after the game yesterday. He didn't seem very happy that a lot of the coaches and a lot of the staff don't know where they stand. Can you understand why he's unhappy about that?
Not really. I spoke to Alan last night on it. We were very clear in the outset when we asked Alan to do the job till the end of the season, which he accepted, and we were very grateful for him because we were fortunate we had someone of his experience in the club. He's done the job very, very well in difficult circumstances. End of season when there's change, it's difficult, and for him and Frankie, particularly, their futures are up in the air until the head coach is here. Alan's gone on record to say that a number of times himself, that he'll be waiting for that person to be appointed to A, see if he's for that person, and B, if that's right for Alan. So I think we couldn't be sort of any clearer on that. In terms of the other staff, I spoke to every member of staff or every head of department on my first day at the club and reassured them that we'll be moving forward together. So I think it's pretty sort of crystal clear, really. I think the days when a new manager or a head coach comes in and sacks 30 people and brings 30 people in, I don't think that's happened for years, and it certainly won't be happening here. So I understand from Alan's point of view is that him and Frankie especially will be waiting to see what happens, but we've been clear from the outset, of which Frankie's put on record numerous times, that he'll be waiting for the head coach to come, and we've always said that'll be towards the end of May, 2-3 weeks after the season. The season finished yesterday, so we'll just have to wait for that time to come, and I appreciate it's not easy. I understand that, but one good thing with Alan, he's been around the game a hell of a lot longer than myself, and he would have seen this before, and what we have to make sure we do is when the head coach is in, we get them together quickly and see is it right that we can move forward together. If not, we'll do right by Alan, and he knows that, and then again I've said that to him on day one and reiterated it, and if we can move forward together, fantastic.
Are you on target to have the head coach in place by the end of May?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. We fully expect that. We'd be surprised if we don't, so we fully expect that.
Do you know in your mind who that person is going to be?
We have a number of people, and there's a number of good people. Unfortunately, things are a little bit slow because people's seasons are still going on, and we have to be respectful of that. And there's certain rules that we have to adhere by. So, we have a clear idea of the type of person it'll be. And of course, we have a list of sort of candidates for that. Once their season's finished, we can really sort of start to accelerate that process. Yeah,
it's hardly reading between the lines, but what you're telling us here is that the first head coach of Norwich City is currently working at another club.
I'd say that's a pretty fair assumption, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and hopefully that person will be in position soon, because as you've mentioned already, not just Alan Irvine, but a lot of the direction of the club depends on that appointment, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly in terms of Alan and Frankie for two who I've spoken to, in terms of the rest of the staff, as they all know, they're here, and like every member of staff at any business, when there's change at the top, everyone gets a little bit uneasy and a little bit insecure. I understand that. I can do what best to reassure people. If people do their jobs going forward and they want to be a part of what we want to do, that's great, but who knows, things sort of change. All we can do is in the short term reassure people that we're back. With all the staff, we've cracked on with planning pre-season, what that looks like, with the sports science, the physios, medicals, the analysts, goalkeeper coach, everyone. So it's like, we're in a real sort of good place going forward. So that's all we can do, but obviously we need a head coach to help really then nail down into the detail of what that looks like on a day-to-day from a coaching point of view and a training schedule point of view, so that let's say if you're the head of sports science or the head physio, what your working week looks like, and that's the uncertain bit. Until that person's in place, that can't happen. But I'd like to think that I've explained that clearly enough to people that once the guy's appointed, they'll have meetings straight away, and we'll work out the way forward.
A number of players have already been released, and there was an emotional goodbye to John Ruddy yesterday, and as you mentioned, that's all happened now that the season's gone. Clearly a lot of players are going to come in over the summer, so can you outline what the transfer policy is over the next 2 or 3 months?
I think first of all, it's a real specific reason we did the decisions as we did last week, to give people the opportunity to say goodbye, and I thought it was fantastic for John yesterday and his family that he got the send-off that he truly sort of deserves. You know, I've only known the guy a month, but you know, what a fantastic guy, fantastic professional. And when I sat down with him last week and explained our reasons of why we had to do it, he took them, and you know, I was sort of grateful for that, and I think he was grateful for a real level of honesty and the opportunity to sort of say goodbye. In terms of the transfer policy going forward, you know, it's been put on record. You know, we have to make our own money here as a club, so how successful we can be in getting players in will be as successful as we can be in terms of creative in making sort of some finances available for ourselves. And you know, we have to work really, really hard. You know, last week was the first part of that, and I've heard it banded around that was an easy decision. It's not easy being sat opposite 7 professional footballers and telling them that they're going. You know, okay, it's easy in terms of contractually because they're out of contract, you can let them go, but it's still tough decisions. And you know, certainly people who've done really well for this football club at a higher level than we're currently at. So, you know, I disagree when people say that's an easy decision. It's a tough decision. But you know, in terms of shaping the squad, you know, we have to be creative in what we do. I think in terms of positions, I think people know where we're weak. You know, I think that's been well documented, and where we're strong. And I think, can we make the areas where we're strong a bit stronger? You know, could we add maybe another attacking player who maybe something a little bit different to what we got? And can we add in the areas where we're short, both now in terms of numbers with the guys who got released last week, and also add, you know, maybe some different qualities to what we've already got here.
I'm not going to sit here and go through each player individually because we would be here until the start of next season, but I think there are a couple of players that fans would particularly want to know about. One is Stephen Naismith, presumably one of the higher earners here. There's been a lot of talk about him being allowed to leave this summer. Can you clear up what the situation is with him?
Yeah, I mean, I had a laugh with Stephen the other day about it because it come out in the media up in Scotland somewhere that he's been let to go on a free and whatever. So that was news to me, and it was news to Stephen. Stephen's a good player. We all know that. You know, unbelievable experience at the highest level in terms of international football. He's played in the Champions League and in the Premier League numerous times. So with Stephen, he's here. He's our player. He's under contract. In terms of his salary, people want to talk about salaries. I think that's a bit disrespectful. I think we need to talk about the quality of the player and does he want to be here, or does somebody else want him? And with each player, you know, I've sat with most of the players over the last sort of couple of weeks and had some, you know, real honest conversations. And if at that point someone doesn't want to be here, well, that we need to talk about it. But I think in terms of individual players, we need to work together and find the best solution for all of us, and most importantly, what's best for our club.
And the other one I was going to ask about was Mitchell Dykes, because he is slightly different and he's been on loan. I think the fans would love him to be back at Carrow Road next season. Is there any hope of that?
There's hope. Obviously, we've got the option to buy him, so that, you know, to a certain degree, it's on our court. We need to agree personal terms with Mitchell, and as I've touched on before, from a financial point of view, we need to be creative with the squad. And if that means that Mitchell or any other player that we're trying to get falls out of that, we can't do it. We are where we are in terms of the finances we're governed by. Mitchell's done well on his loan, and I think the fans have appreciated him, and I think he's enjoyed himself here. I think he's gone on record to say he's settled in quite well. I think we'll just have to wait and see. The good thing with Mitchell, we've got a little bit of time because we've got the option, and we don't need to rush it, and we can take our sort of time to get it done.
I understand what you say about Stephen Naismith and being disrespectful to talk about specific players' wages, but as a general point, that is one of the things you're considering very carefully this summer, isn't it, in terms of who earns what and how you can get the best value for money from the wage bill in terms of the playing staff.
Yeah, I think probably the same as every club in the world should be looking. You want the most value for money. You know, whether it's an existing player or whether it's bringing a player in. You know, we're governed by the finances, and you know, we need to make sure any player we do sign or keep on or retain or renew the contract is that we feel we're getting the best value for money out of that player. You know, I think that's probably the same for each club. You know, but certainly here it's really apparent, because if we don't do that, we probably get punished more than others, because you know, we don't have an owner who's just going to wipe off the debt if it goes wrong. We need to, you know, any decision we make, and I sit with all the staff over the month and said, listen, every penny we spend, we've got to spend it as if it's our own, because if we make a mistake with it or we don't utilise it properly, it comes back and costs us, and that's where we have to be, you know, as careful as we can this summer to make sure we get them decisions right.
Norwich City were among the top scorers in the Championship last season, which was something to be proud of, but it wasn't good enough for even a top 6 finish. So it is the most difficult part of your job and the job of building a squad here for next season, the balance of not blunting that, but perhaps improving the team defensively.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that'll be the head coach's job. I think it's a huge positive that we scored 85 goals in the league, which I think was joint top with Newcastle and Fulham. And what a huge positive that is, because scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in football, and we scored 85 of them. And I can only talk about the 6 games that I've been here. We scored, I think, 20 goals. We could have scored 30. It's been incredible the amount of chances we've created, and that's a real positive, and that's something that we need to build on. And okay, we can then focus on the defensive record, but I think it's too easy sometimes to just ban that about as let's blame the defenders or the goalkeeper. I think as a team we need to defend better. I think Alan's come on record as saying that. I think the head coach going forward, it's plain to see if you look at our results that we need to improve defensively, but I think that's as a team, and that's very much a question for him when he's in place as to how he sort of goes about that. Obviously there'll be recruitments of players in there to help it, but that's very much a sort of coaching point, which I think when the head coach is here, that is definitely a question for him.
And just to finish with the amount of churn of players there is going to be and has already been over this summer, how hard is it going to be to hit the ground running in August?
I don't think it's difficult because we're not starting from a horrendous place, are we? I think I appreciate for Norwich finishing 8th in the league isn't great after probably pushing the boat out a couple of Januaries ago to stay in the Premier League, and then pushing the boat out last summer to build on that and to, let's say, keep all the best players together. So yeah, I appreciate from that point of view it's a disappointing season, and I understand it, but we're not starting from a place of 20th and been stayed up on the last day by goal difference or something like that. There's some real positive areas to sort of build on, and what we have to do is get the balance right as keeping them positives and developing them, making them better, and then trying to fill in around it to make where we've not been as successful, and that's obviously away form, maybe goals conceded. How can we plug that? But I think we should have real optimism going into the new season, because we've got a hell of a lot of quality here, both in terms of the players, in terms of staff, in terms of facilities and stuff like that. That it's actually a lot for us to build on. We're not starting from a horrendous place.
I'm sure we'll speak again over the summer, but Stuart, thank you very much for now.
No problem. Thank you.